The stage is set for the Stanley Cup Final, and while it does mean hockey season is almost over, there is some good news. It's June, and here at Icethetics, June means Jersey Watch. And this year's edition is an especially big deal with the arrival of Fanatics as the NHL's new on-ice outfitter. In this episode, I'll break down everything we know about what's changing, including a handful of individual team redesigns, as Icethetics presents NHL Jersey Watch 2024 Fanatics Final Preview. As we get underway, I wanted to say a quick welcome to all of the channel's new subscribers. I really do appreciate your support. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is a great time, so you don't miss my coverage of the official Fanatics uniform unveiling. Like the title says, I expect this to be the last Jersey Watch update before the big Fanatics reveal. For this video, we'll go Q&A style. I put out a call for your burning questions and many of you responded, so thank you for that. I'll be answering those questions in just a second, but first, we should talk about the logo reveal for next season's Winter Classic. Revealed on May 29th, this is the first logo to go without a year. This should be the 2025 NHL Winter Classic, but it's being played on New Year's Eve instead of New Year's Day. That means it's still technically in 2024, making this the first ever calendar year with multiple Winter Classics. The official event name is simply formatted as the Discover NHL Winter Classic. And on that subject, take note of the difference in the sponsor version of the logo. I'm not sure why yet, but when the Discover logo is present, Wrigley Field becomes Chicago instead. Anyway, I don't know if this move to New Year's Eve represents a permanent change for the NHL, or if it's just a one-time deal to avoid competing with a perfect storm of sporting events. Regardless, this game will feature two returning teams and a returning venue, as the Chicago Blackhawks host the St. Louis Blues at Wrigley Field. The 2009 Winter Classic was also played at Wrigley, so it's worth comparing the two logos. Both are based on the famous red marquee at the main entrance to the ballpark. The 2009 version was oriented at an angle, while this year's is straight on. The new design also references the ivy-covered brick outfield wall, which is a cool touch. Personally, I like this color scheme too, and I especially love the script design for the word winter. And with that, let's get into the Q&A, beginning with a couple of questions I've been getting asked a lot. When will we finally see the new Fanatics NHL jerseys? While no official date has been announced yet, I do have reason to believe it is happening later this month. In particular, I do expect the reveal of most Fanatics-branded NHL game jerseys at or before the upcoming NHL draft in Las Vegas on June 27th. There are a couple of caveats, but we'll get to that later on. The reason is simple. The draft marks the official start of the new National Hockey League season, which means the Adidas deal is now well and truly finished. In just a few weeks, 32 young hockey players will hear their names called and be welcomed onto a big stage with handshakes and a hockey sweater. The players that get the call at this draft will never wear an Addy Zero jersey in the NHL. So why should they wear one on draft night? And for a look at what we could learn from history, consider how the Adidas launch went down in 2017. There was an event held on June 20th in Las Vegas, during which Adidas unveiled all 31 home jerseys, including those of the new Vegas Golden Knights franchise. The next day was the expansion draft, where the Knights picked their first players, some of whom were wearing those new sweaters. There's no expansion draft this time around, but there is a new team in need of jerseys. We'll get to Utah a bit later on. For now, next question. What is actually changing with the switch to Fanatics? To be honest, not much, but maybe a little more than we expect. Some reports suggest it'll be as simple as the Fanatics F mark replacing the Adidas logo just below the neckline on the back of the jersey. That being a result of the limited time between the NHL announcing Fanatics as its new partner a year ago and the actual jersey launch happening this month. There's also the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The form and function of NHL sweaters is in a good place right now. They look good, and players like them. To rush into a redesign just for the sake of it could cause unintended problems, and I think Fanatics subscribes to that notion as well, especially after seeing firsthand what happened with Nike and MLB earlier this spring. However, I do think it's possible we see more than just a new logo slapped onto an Adidas design. I think Fanatics will take this moment to put their own stamp on the jerseys, even if only in subtle ways. The dimpled shoulders, for example, a trademark of the Adidas era, could get a refreshed look and feel. Even the color design may see some streamlined updates. All that said, any changes we do see are not likely to be significant, for now at least. Fanatics is researching ways to keep improving the jersey for both players and fans. But again, any major redesigns are still at least a year or two away. For more details on that timeline, along with a sneak peek at the redesigned practice jerseys from Fanatics, check out my previous Jersey Watch, titled Fanatics First Look. Alright, now let's get into your questions, from X and YouTube. Caden asks, do you think we'll see major issues this season, like we've seen in the MLB? Short answer, no. I can't predict the future, of course, but the major issues going on with MLB uniforms are a product of changes implemented by Nike. Fanatics does own the factory that makes baseball jerseys, but Nike is fully in charge of designing them. This is a design problem, not a manufacturing problem. If there is trouble with NHL jerseys under Fanatics next season, it would be for a different reason from what's going on in the MLB. I went into more detail on this topic in my Fanatics First Look video from March, if you want to know more. Ryan asks, will there be an all-over refresh/redesign similar to the Reebok Edge 1.0 debacle? Nope, there shouldn't be. Reebok spent 2 years developing the Edge uniform system and still missed the mark, but lots of lessons were learned. The difference here, Fanatics is not starting from scratch. Essentially, they're picking up where Adidas left off, so any changes would be minimal. Luke asks, will any team be able to change their uniforms for the 24-25 season, or will they be forced to stay the same? This is a great question, and since I'm about to go team by team, here's a list of some time codes in case you want to jump to a specific team. Now, I've talked about how Fanatics made a general request to teams that they avoid making big changes this year since they have a lot of work to do in getting up to speed. But it was not a mandate. Teams who had redesigns already in the works seem to be moving forward with them. And in the case of Utah, they currently have no jersey at all, since the Coyotes brand is staying in Arizona. So they will definitely need something new in a hurry. While I don't envision a lot of new NHL jerseys this year, we will still get a few. Nathaniel asks, what teams will be keeping their alternate jerseys going into next season? We saw a few launch this year, and it would be a shame for them not to be on the ice for an entire season. Good news, all of those new third jerseys will be back, and most of the pre-existing ones will as well. There were some rumors going around that teams would only have home and away jerseys next season, possibly based on Reebok in 2007 and Adidas in 2017, but new templates were introduced in both of those cases. That is not the case this time around with Fanatics. As of now, I can confirm that alternate uniforms will be in use for the 24-25 season. And as we go team by team, I'll break down which ones will return and which ones will not. Alright, that's our high-level view of what's coming, so now let's drill down into what the individual teams are up to. First up, Ryan asks, the Ducks are always talked about in rebranding discussions. Do you think Anaheim will ever go back to the eggplant and jade jersey and logo? And on a related note, Alexander asks, what are the odds Anaheim gets a surprise rebrand at the draft? Okay, interesting question. The odds, I would say, are not zero. I am telling you there's a chance. Initial reports had said that all that would change for the Ducks next season is their third jersey. The plum alternate they used this past season, and it was a beauty, was only intended for their 30th anniversary, meaning it's going away now, and the orange throwback was due to return. Chatter has started heating up with regard to a bigger change, a mightier change, if you will, but I don't know whether it's for this year or next. Either way, it's something to keep an eye on. Easily one of the most popular requests for NHL jersey redesigns is for Anaheim to go back to the Mighty Ducks in plum and jade. Jake asks, you said you see the Bruins going back to their old jerseys. Was that just a guess, or have you heard that from someone? It was not a guess. That is based on what the Bruins themselves said when they launched their Centennial uniforms last summer. They were only intended for use during this season. I also have a source confirming the previous design will return under Fanatics for next season. However, that same source says not to expect a third jersey for Boston, meaning this design will not be returning in the fall. Shifting to Buffalo now, another question. How long do you think the Sabres will keep the goat head as a third jersey? Is there a limit on how long they can use it for? To my knowledge, there is no upper limit on how long you can use a certain third jersey. However, the NHL does encourage teams to keep them for at least 3 years, and I believe that has to do with not irritating fans who buy them in year 1 or 2 only to have them become immediately obsolete. It's why teams tend to tell us when a jersey is only planned for 1 season, like the Bruins Centennial and the Ducks 30-year throwback. The good news is the goat head will be back next season, which, by the way, is year 3. So will they keep it beyond 3 years? That's a question for Jersey Watch 2025, so check back next year. A bit of a surprise in Calgary. I'm told the Flames appear to be dropping their black, blasty third jersey, but I kind of hope this one's not true. Such a great 90s throwback. I'll keep you posted on that. Meanwhile, no changes are expected for their home and away uniforms. Same story for Carolina. The black, red, and white jerseys are all returning next season, but the way they've been going in recent years, I suspect it won't be long before they change one of them again. On the bright side, I understand the new white Whalers throwback that debuted this season will be back for at least a game or 2 next season. We have another viewer question from Ash. Will the Hawks be getting a third jersey or just the Winter Classic look? I don't have anything to report on a new alternate for Chicago, and yes, as host of the next Winter Classic at Wrigley Field, the Blackhawks will have one special uniform next season. Beyond that, their historic home and road set will remain intact. No news for Colorado. The Avs will keep their existing home, away, and alternate jerseys. We've got a viewer question for the Blue Jackets. Seeing that the Columbus jerseys have not changed much since 2000, would a rebrand work well with Fanatics coming in as the new manufacturer? Well, we did see them make a transition away from those inaugural jerseys to Reebok Edge in 2007. And it's true those jerseys haven't changed in 17 years, but the interesting thing about Columbus is they turn 25 in 2025. So will they mark their anniversary next season or the year after? Either way, I don't personally think a full rebrand is necessary here. They have a solid logo. However, the jerseys could use some work. They're a bit bland for me. And when Fanatics rolls out their next-gen NHL jerseys in a year or 2, that could be a great time for an updated look. But as for next season, I would expect their existing home, away, and that super long-lived Canon third jersey. Remember, that one launched on Reebok Edge way back in 2010. And of course, they will have a fresh Stadium Series uniform as they host their first outdoor game next year. But I have no details on that design just yet. No changes for Dallas. Even that black and neon green third jersey is due back for its 5th season. Here's a fan question. When it comes to league-mandated alternate jerseys, Detroit is always damned if they do, damned if they don't. Should they just be exempt? I see we're singling out the Red Wings for having the most apprehensive executives in all of hockey. It's not that they can't do a good alternate or one-off jersey. I think it's that their management resists change to such a degree that they then make bad decisions when change is required. But to answer the question, no, they should not be exempt. They should just trust their designers more. And Detroit's participation in the next Stadium Series means we have another chance at seeing something fun from them, just as we did in 2016. Anyway, to no one's surprise, no other changes are expected for next season. We are getting a bit of a change for Edmonton, though. I'm told we have seen the last of that navy blue third jersey after 5 seasons in action. Tom Gazzola was actually first to report on this in April while debunking a seemingly baseless rumor about a copper and blue throwback for the Oilers. He added, quote, "No third jersey in year 1 of Fanatics." That does seem to be true for Edmonton, but to be clear, as I've been saying throughout this video, other teams will still have third jerseys in year 1 with Fanatics. On the Panthers front, Jamie asks, will Florida be getting a third jersey? Unfortunately, I doubt it. Sounds like the Panthers will stick with their home and away jerseys only, but I do think a return to the Leaping Cat would make for a welcome alternate. Alright, we do have some excitement on the LA front. One fan asks, is there any news on the Los Angeles Kings rebrand? As a matter of fact, there is. In last year's Jersey Watch, I mentioned that the Kings had something new in the works, and I suspected it was being targeted for 24-25. That now seems to be coming true. A very trusted source confirms that a new look is on the way, so while I know I've said Fanatics asked teams to hold off on redesigns for now, this one appears to have been grandfathered in. I don't have a ton of details, but others, including Mayor's Manor, suggest it's a 90s throwback. What I wonder about is whether the current third jersey, launched in 2021, will become the road jersey alongside a black home version of that. Or are they going with a true throwback, like this one-off design from 2020? Another real question I have is, will the new design even be ready to show with the rest of the league at the draft, or will we have to wait a bit longer to see it? I wish I had more answers on this one, but I'm sure we'll get them soon enough. Mini Hockey asks, will the Wild be changing any of their jersey designs with Fanatics taking over? And will Fanatics have third jerseys ready for the season, unlike for the MLB? Fair questions here. To the first, no. None of their jersey designs appear to be changing for next season. Same home and away, and even the throwback 78s are due to return. Regarding whether jerseys will be ready for the new season, I have no reason to believe they won't. The Montreal factory is toiling away to get all of the new Fanatics branded jerseys ready for the start of the season, and home and aways will probably take priority over alternates in that process. But remember, there's no fundamental change to the base template of the NHL jersey the way there was with Nike's MLB jerseys. So fingers crossed for smooth sailing, but only time will tell. The other item of note for Minnesota is that 2025 marks their 25th anniversary, but like Columbus, I don't expect them to commemorate it until the 25-26 season. Why do I still put Montreal in these Jersey Watch videos? You know nothing's changing here. Classic and historic, Canadiens' uniforms are as reliable as the sunrise. Same story in Nashville, home and aways only. Still no third jersey in the Predators' pipeline, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed for one someday. Here's a question from Scotty. Should Devils fans expect the jersey to return, or will the Devils no longer carry a third until Fanatics is fully up and running? Good news, the black jersey will return, and of course, New Jersey's standard home and road designs will also remain the same. While we're on the Devils, I should point out some photos that were shared by the team following the announcement of Sheldon Keefe as their new head coach. Joe asks, is Sheldon Keefe wearing a new Fanatics on ice jersey with an Adidas logo on it? Doesn't look like it has the dimples. The family is wearing what looks like Fanatics replicas too, with Adidas logos. Very interesting question here, but I think we're just looking at a weird Frankenstein monster. Quick breakdown. Clearly, Keefe's family members are wearing the Fanatics breakaway replicas. They have the foldable crests with that weird sheen and the embroidered NHL shield in the collar. From this angle, it doesn't appear that Keefe's jersey is the same, but with unknown lighting and lack of detail, it's hard to say for sure. The other oddity is that none of these jerseys have the Fanatics tag on the front hem. And the back is where it really gets weird. All four jerseys have the Adidas mark on the back neckline, which is normally a blank area on the breakaways. So I do wonder if these are just some weird creations from the equipment manager. The Islanders appear to be retiring their third jersey, just like Calgary and Edmonton. So if you enjoyed the blue NY sweater, I'm sorry to say it looks like we have seen the last of it on the ice. No confirmation though, just a reliable source for that one. The Rangers were among the teams that launched new third jerseys late in the season, and their new navy blue design will stick around for at least another season. And just like most of their original six brethren, no changes to their primary uniforms are expected. Despite new ownership in Ottawa, things have remained quiet on the jersey front. But the retro look is still popular with fans, so the Senators are standing pat. A new third jersey would be nice, but doesn't appear to be in the cards for next season. Shifting to Philadelphia, Ryan asks, any rumors of a new Flyers alternate jersey? I find it both strange and very lazy that their current alternate is a copy of an older Stadium Series jersey and uses an older shade of orange that is different from the primary home and away. Ryan's self-described rant goes on a little longer, but it's a point well made. This third jersey dates back to the 2017 Stadium Series, and it still retains elements that were only necessary in the outdoor environment. But according to my sources, no changes are due for the Flyers next season. They, of course, did just launch new home and away designs last summer, and Ryan's favorite black third jersey will apparently still be in rotation. No changes in Pittsburgh. The Penguins are even keeping their 90s throwback third jersey for at least another year. Same story in San Jose, so if you enjoyed the black Cali Finn third jersey, good news, it is coming back. A Kraken fan writes, I heard somewhere, don't remember, that before the Winter Classic, the Kraken were rumored to have a third jersey in the works. What happened to that? Did it end up being the Winter Classic design? Great question, and you probably heard that here. My understanding is the Kraken have been planning a third jersey from the very start, but have always found an excuse to delay it. In year 1, they didn't want competition for their brand new home and away jerseys. In year 2, the reverse retro program came back, so they didn't want a new third to have to compete with that. And in year 3, it was the Winter Classic, of course. But that outdoor jersey, with its nods to the old Metropolitans team, is not the alternate design I've heard has been in the works. The original plan was for an ice blue jersey with the secondary anchor logo on the front. So, will that ever happen? Hard to say. But the shift to Fanatics is yet another reason to delay a third jersey launch as Seattle heads into year 4. Corey asks, any word on what direction the Blues will go for the upcoming Winter Classic, or any news at all for St. Louis? Well, the Blues did stir up a little intrigue with the Winter Classic logo reveal last week. On the social graphics released by them in the NHL, they used their throwback logo. At this point in the outdoor brand reveal process, we usually see the team's primary logos as opposed to the uniform logos, mainly because the uniform designs are likely not complete yet. It has left some fans speculating that St. Louis may be switching to their throwback Winter Classic jerseys full-time. But according to my source, the Blues appear to be keeping their current uniform set intact: home, away, and the throwback third. But this will be an interesting story to follow. Are the Blues planning to surprise us this summer? Stay tuned. Regarding the Bolts, Marco asks, any news on Tampa? Will they ever put black back into their primary uniforms? I hope so, but sadly, not this year. The Lightning will stick with their existing look. On the plus side, that does include their new black third jersey. The team told me that one will be worn for at least 2 more seasons. And if you want an inside look at the launch of that jersey, I highly recommend my Behind the Bolt video. The Lightning invited me to Tampa for exclusive behind-the-scenes access back in January. No changes in Toronto. The Leafs will hang on to their home and road jerseys, along with the Bieber-designed black third, and the new St. Pat's design that debuted back in March. Utah is obviously the biggest question mark among NHL jersey conversations, but we did get an update from owner Ryan Smith himself via the Pat McAfee show on May 29th.
Well, how far along are we on the team name thing?
Well, I think our 4, like we've got our 4. I think, Mammoth's up there. I think Yeti's up there.
So they've got a final 4. Mammoth and Yeti are still in the mix, but he played coy about the other 2 options. Still, good to know the team is making progress on the name front. Meantime, Cody asks, what do you suspect Utah will be wearing this upcoming season? Sadly, despite the name progress, I do expect something generic this October. Icethetics contributor Justin Wiltron put together this concept. Additional confirmation of the bland brand came when this powder blue roundel was discovered on NHL.com. It does appear this is the placeholder logo that will represent Utah for its first year. Then a Utah reporter, Ryan Miller, came across some other designs in filings with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Beyond the roundel, there's a logo that incorporates the shape of Utah itself, a simplified word mark, and a word mark with some powder blue striping. That one honestly feels like a jersey crest to me. Maybe Utah gets a chest stripe like the ones we see in Montreal, Florida, and Minnesota. Overall, nothing inspiring, but hey, I will give them points for adopting the Icethetics color scheme. Another interesting question here. While I know much of the new Utah team is in flux and they may not have a permanent name next year, do you know how much of the creative design for their uniforms is being handled by Fanatics versus the franchise and/or the league? It's actually a fun fourth option. The team has hired a New York-based agency to handle their brand development, and I believe that does include the logo and uniforms. But it'll be a mix of everyone, to some degree. The franchise will direct the agency, and the league will have to approve the designs. So yeah, we'll keep checking in on Utah, and I do wonder how they'll be represented at the draft. Bear in mind that in 2011, before the new Winnipeg Jets had a logo, their first-round draft pick, Mark Scheifele, got a generic black practice jersey with the NHL shield on the front. Scott in Vancouver asks, any mentions of a white Canucks skate jersey in the near future? The fans here in Vancouver are dying for one. I hate to ruin your day, Scott, but no, not this year. Everything is status quo on the Canucks jersey front. Home, away, and the black skate alternate will all be returning. No changes for the Golden Knights. Vegas will maintain their gold home, white away, and even that gray third jersey. Frank asks, the Capitals will be celebrating 50 years as a franchise this upcoming 24-25 season. So I ask, do you believe a special jersey is in the works as we speak? It has to be, right? 50 is a big number. The Caps have to be grandfathered in for this one. Unfortunately, though, I have nothing to report here. No solid info on any 50th anniversary jersey. But if they do one, I hope it's not just a copy of their original jerseys from the 70s, because we have seen those a couple of times already in recent years. It wouldn't be special enough. That aside, the home and road jerseys seem to be going unchanged, though I think they could use a serious modernization. And their navy blue third jersey is also due to be back. And finally, we've made it to the end of the NHL alphabet. And I'm happy to say the Jets' brilliant powder blue throwback jersey, nicknamed 48, does appear to be coming back for another season. That's in addition to their home, away, and throwback third jersey. Other than that, no news for Winnipeg. Before I wrap up, I do want to tackle a few more of your questions, and I also want to remind you that none of this information is official yet, and therefore it's all subject to change. I'm only reporting details from sources I trust, but plans could always be altered after the information was provided. Alright, some final questions. Kings Uniform History asks, will we see the return of chrome helmets for LA, Vegas, and/or Vancouver? Do you think any other teams will introduce one? Great question, and not Fanatics related. Vegas seriously scaled back on the gold helmets this season, wearing them only twice all year. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped them entirely. As for LA, with the reported redesign of their jerseys, I'm not sure how the helmets might be adapted. But I should point out that during the playoffs, when the Kings wore their white third jersey for road games, they did not use the chrome buckets, just plain white ones. And Vancouver's blue chrome appeared to be a one-off to auction for charity. No idea yet if they plan to do it again next season. Jimmy asks, since the Hawks, Rangers, and Red Wings will be celebrating their centennial in 2026, any news on them having special jerseys? Ask me again next year. No doubt they'll have big plans as they each hit 100 years old, just like Boston, Toronto, and Montreal before them, but I'm sure even those teams are only just starting to have those conversations internally, so definitely no news yet. And we'll wrap up with one more question from Shannon, who asks with a laugh, why does it have to be Fanatics? LOL. This is the simplest answer yet, and I think you already know it. Money. But in all fairness, I am trying to remain optimistic. I know their reputation, I know it well, but I am willing to give Fanatics a chance to course correct on the NHL. For the sake of hockey jersey enthusiasts everywhere, let's hope they do. And with that, if you have any other questions I didn't get to here, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer more there. Thanks for watching my first ever Jersey Watch Q&A. Be sure to drop a like on your way out and subscribe so you don't miss any future Jersey Watch updates. That's all for now. See you next time.